Hello Daily Drafters, and welcome back to the channel for today's daily draft, or rather our third attempt at day one of the Arena Open. I'm really trying to make day two here. This is our third attempt this week. This was recorded last Saturday. We're going to go ahead and give this third attempt a shot to try to make day two, and I already see another Fecund Green Shell in our pool here. Unfortunately, the rest of the cards aren't very good, and a lot of our rares are in blue, and blue is near unplayable. So that's a little bit unfortunate. But what I already notice as I'm kind of scrolling through this, and for those of you that didn't watch the first two as well, I am recording my face and audio here post sealed build and run here, as I do play a little bit better when I don't comment over the top of it. But I notice I've got 2 Nocturnal Hungers, a Savor, a Feed the Cycle, and a bunch of green cards. And that is probably just good enough to want to make me play black-green here. We do have a Banishing Light, a couple of blue rares here, but Azure Beastbinder is good, don't get me wrong, but blue is just so bad it's probably not worth considering that. Manifold Mouse is good, but red is also not great. I'm looking at like my removal spells here that I've got, because in the first 2 runs, for those of you that didn't watch those along with us here, we had a total of 1 removal spell in both of our decks combined. That's how garbage our pools were here. So these black removal spells, I'm probably going to do whatever I can to fit these into the deck here. We've got quite a good little start here with green cards. We've also got a decent little number of black cards with the Husk Burster, Swarm at the top end. It looks like a pretty easy build, if we're being honest here. Just add all the green cards that I can for now, head over here, and then take a look. I've got some, Pawn Prophet and Lily Splash Mentor stuff I could be doing with the blue as well, but most of the rest of my blue cards don't really fit the whole frogs thing. And with Fecund Green Shell, Galewind Moose, I am highly incentivized to want to be playing green in this pool. So you can see I already threw everything over here. And Vine Reap Mentor, Double Cultivator, got a Cash Grab, 6 Squirrels. Everything's looking quite good so far. So you can see our blue now, like none of this synergizes with the frog stuff. We've got a Bellowing Crier. That's about it. So I go ahead and see what happens if I look into like a black-white life gain, because I do have a Carrot Cake, 2 Life Creed duos, a Star Charter, and a Waxwing Witness, and a Moonrise Cleric, as well as Lunar Convocation. Like, I've got a decent black-white deck here, but of the cards I'm like actively excited to play in this deck, I only reached 33. Past this, I would have to kind of fill out the deck with some likely less than desirable cards here. So, and this leaves the Fecund Green Shell on the sideboard, or in the sideboard, which is not really a spot you want to be, if at all possible. So I quickly look at that, but I also quickly decide that I think our black-green is a lot better here. Giving Lunar Convocation one more read there. And I'm making cuts throughout this as well. I've already edited the video as well, except for me on top as far as the audio. But so it's not taking me like literally 4 minutes to build this. But heading back over to black-green here, as it does seem like the best option for us. So I throw all the cards that I could probably want to consider in this deck. Got 39 so far. Put in an Agablade Assassin. Just starting to fill out the rest of the deck here. Got every green card in our entire pool in the deck right now. They're the share pots. I was looking at the share pots as more ways to kind of like get food on the battlefield for foraging and things. I forgot about those earlier. Now I've got 42 playables. I can decide what I want to do once I take a look at my curve and cutting things. I can also even play the rabbit there, as it is a double green card. And other than that, there's really not much left for us, so go ahead and sort it by creatures, make the last couple of cuts here. Probably don't need 2 share pots. I want to make sure my creature count is high enough for the Fekin Green Shell to really like kind of pop off. Also, you don't want too few amount of creatures. This deck currently has 14. Sorry, it was covered by my face there, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16. Okay, so we still have to make 2 cuts though. The High Stride, I mean, is fine, but doesn't really like synergize a ton. And then there's the Dire Sight. I didn't want to go too much lower than 16, especially if I was trying to play the Swarm. Taking a last look here to see if there's anything else I'd prefer to put in any of these places. I definitely made a mistake this draft. I did not include the Fabled Passage in my deck. I just didn't even consider it. It wouldn't have been like a huge difference necessarily. But it does add another card to the graveyard for foraging. Not that we actually have a ton of that. We have a Curious Forager, a Treetop Sentries, a couple Cultivators, a Thorn Vault Forager, but we do have several ways to make food, so not really going to be lacking too much there. So I think we'll be all right in that respect. And this is the deck I end up starting with here. 17 land, good old black-green deck, and it's not the greatest. We do have a couple of rares with the Forager, the Green Shell. I think that's it. That's all we were able to really fit into the deck. But we do have a decent cast of characters around it here. So we'll start on the draw in this first game and likely lose to a turn 2 Innkeeper's Talent. This happened on Wednesday, at least once or twice, and Innkeeper's Talent is a busted card that we have not opened yet. Fekin Green Shell is as well, but Innkeeper's Talent is just near unbeatable this early in the game. So, it is what it is. Go ahead, attack here, offer this trade, and then just play a 3/4. Okay, now it's a 4/4, they attack, and then they can cast sorceries at instant speed. Actually, any non-creature, but particularly sorceries is the most applicable for that. And I could potentially use Nocturnal Hunger or Savior here to blow out whatever they're trying to do. But the issue is whenever they cast a non-creature spell, it turns into a 5/5. So Savor, if I attack with the Mentor and then I Savor the Flood Caller, I'm kind of 2-for-1ing myself, but if they block the Mentor, I just Nocturnal Hunger the Flood Caller here, is my thought. So I've got a couple of options. I could use Savor on the Flood Caller and then block with the Veteran. Or if they block the Veteran, I mean. And we got away with it here. No, I almost snapped that off, but then I was like, wait, the Savor works much, much better than this here. So I let the Mentor turn into a food. I let them make the block. And then Savor gets rid of their only creature on the battlefield, which is nice. Then just drop the share pot, and hopefully we find a land next turn to get the Green Shell going. And they have another one. So every card they've played so far has been a rare. Except the Sugar Coat. But we're not doing too horrible. They're missing land drops as well, which is nice. They have a 4/4. They've got tricks. Good thing I've got Nocturnal Hunger whenever they go for whatever they're going to go for on my turn to untap that. Just hope it's not a removal spell. Unfortunately, didn't get the land. And if I want to do Nocturnal Hunger, I can't cast anything else. So we attack for 7. And then we blow them out with Nocturnal Hunger. They've been playing into our removal spells quite nicely for us here. We will take those. Had they been a little bit more hesitant, I think we probably would have lost that game to a turn 2 Innkeeper's Talent, but they were pretty aggressive. So, it is what it is. We will go first in game 2 now here, 1-0. And we've got a 2-drop. A couple of them. Alright, Agate Blade Assassin on 2, and then I guess Cash Grab on 3 unless we draw something better. You love to see your opponent start with Mountain Island, because blue-red ain't where you want to be. Thinking if I have any 1-drops in the deck, and I don't, so I probably could have waited on doing this, but went ahead and just cast it now. Took the better creature. The 1-2, I mean, I could play it next turn, but it doesn't ramp out Figand Greenshell any sooner, so there's no real need to get it. If I didn't have my 5th land, I probably would have taken the 1-2. And a Valley Flamecaller. That does some damage, that's for sure. So we take 4 from that, and then just drop a 4/4 and get on in. Next turn we play Greenshell, then we play Veteran, and if Greenshell survives, we trigger it once again. Not a bad spot to be. Would happily trade Rampager for Flamecaller here if they offered that trade. Okay, that's a menace creature and can't block it. So we take another 4. Alright, pretty easy turn for us here. I consider using Nocturnal Hunger, but it's wildly mana inefficient, so I just go ahead and drop the Greenshell. Figuring out attacks before I do so here, if I want to attack with the Rampager or not. And I decide to hold back because I do have a removal spell and another creature coming here. And no plays. You love to see that. So we just go ahead and try to get our trigger with the Veteran, and the Druid of the Spade also gets another trigger if we feel like we don't need to use Nocturnal Hunger here. So So I'm thinking about attacking with the Rampager. Again, I'd be fine trading it with the Flamecaller or the Barterer, to be honest. And if they try to like do some sort of trick and use their mana to eat my creature, I do have Nocturnal Hunger backup here. And if they just take it, I play Druid of the Spade and get another trigger off the green shell. Again, very happy to make this trade. Now, I could have played the Druid to give the Rampager +1/+1 in Vigilance because of the Veterans expending, but I wanted to have Nocturnal Hunger up in combat before I did that. That's the reason I didn't expend pre-combat there. Kindle Spark Duo, fine with that. As they did trade with the Flamecaller for some reason, because the duo with the Flamecaller taps to deal 2 damage to you, which is a quick lock. And apparently they had no answer for the green shell, and that's a quick 2-0, so we will take it. And we get to go first here with a Forager on 2, a Lookout on 3, and a green shell on 4. Actually, yeah, that's the curve. I was going to say all of that one ahead, but the Forager does cost 2 mana, not 1. It's not a Birds. Not a Birds of Paradise, unfortunately. You love to see Fountain Port Bell coming down over there, as it is not the greatest of cards. And they chose to not even put a land on top, so I'm fine with that. Alright, easy Clifftop Lookout. We'll get a land. And then next turn, we've got the green shell. Guess there's no point to play it pre-combat. So we go ahead and get in. They've got nothing, and here we go. Okay, that's 2-4. Don't care particularly too much about that, except for the fact that I don't have wonderful attacks. I've got the green shell to attack against it, but what I can do is share pot, sentries, forage, and draw a card, which, I mean, that's fine for this turn. I will take that. Play the land, attack for 4. They go to 11. And next turn we've got share pot to kill a creature to give ourselves good attacks, maybe? We got a lot of reach on our side. Look at all those bow and arrows. Okay, green shell down. But we do have Curious Forager to potentially get it back here at some point. So something we can do is kill their Waxwing Witness, attack for 5, and play Brambleguard Veteran here. That puts him to 6. And we've got 4 creatures and they've got none. So you gotta like your chances in that spot. Okay, they got a bunch of chump blockers and a Bravekin duo. Sure. Saver is nice. Can play the Swarm and then attack with 3 creatures, hold up Saver here. Or I guess attack with 2, because the Veteran's gonna give itself +1/+1 in Vigilance. Yeah, attack here. Hold up the Saver if they go for a double block. And this is just kind of delaying the inevitable here. Unless they have a board wipe, which would be pretty bad. Although, Curious Forager can forage currently and get back Fecal Green Shell. But, I think that should be okay. Based off of the fact that they did not have the board wipe. They're at 6. We've got a Husk Burster Swarm on the battlefield as well, which has Menace. So I just go ahead and make the play to get back the green shell here. Check if they've got any priority. And they don't. And I guess, is it lethal? I mean, they have to double block the swarm, and then they take lethal from everything else. Doing some math here. And send it all in. As long as they don't have Sonar Strike. I guess Sonar Strike would... No, Sonar Strike technically wouldn't even keep them alive here. So I'm not sure what they could have. And there we go. Got the quick 3-0. Can we make our way all the way to 7? That is the question. If we do get to 7, we get our day 2 token here. So we go first in this one. If we can find a single land, the Lookout will do some serious work to help us get towards the green shell and the moose. But we will see. Okay. Don't have it yet. I stand by the keep because, like, I mean, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there? Yeah, so we had a cultivator as well, so we had 2 plays if we found any single land. So, have not yet. Pass it on back. They played a rare on 2, and a rare on 3. The perfect synergistic rares. And even if we had hit our lands, this one might have not gone our way. So we miss our 3rd land once again, and welcome to Magic the Gathering, where you lose games that you never got to play. So we quickly move on to 3-1 now. Yeah, had we even drawn lands, like, we could not have won that game. And we missed it again, just for good measure. So let's go on to the next one then, I suppose. This hand looks a little bit better. We've got Mentor on 2. Dire Sight on 3 to refill the hand as well. Potentially put a couple creatures we don't want in the yard to make the swarm cheaper. Who knows, we'll see. Ooh, perfect. A 1-mana aggressive creature. Happy to trade with this with Baker's Bane Duo, I think. Gives us a food if it dies. We've got the Lookout. It's going to hit a land here. We're going to have 5 lands next turn, which is not the greatest on our current board, unfortunately, considering it only lets us do like one thing. But it's a play we got to make. Checking what I put on the bottom. Put a couple of creatures. At least we didn't put the green shell on the bottom. Drawing more swamps than I know what to do with here. So now the question is, do I Dire Sight? Or do I preserve my life total and kill this Cutthroat before it does even more damage to me? Because currently, I mean, I can't block it. I have to take 4. I don't really want to be gifting them foods here, because they are green-black deck as well. Or at least a version. A black deck that might be splashing green, who knows. So I go ahead and kill it, and plan to Dire Sight next turn. But we're not really drawing any action here. Okay, got a removal spell, but let's start with Dire Sight. And I know I've got the green shell in the deck, so I keep the forest and I top deck another land. So what are we at now? 6 on the battlefield, 1 in the graveyard, and 2 in hand. So that comes out to 9. 9 lands already. Really not drawing anything else. I totally made the mistake there. I realized this when I did this too. I have no idea why I played the forest, because the Feed the Cycle could be cast by paying an extra black mana. That was just a huge mistake there. If I wanted to kill this veteran right now, I could have just done it without having to pay any extra foods or cards out of the graveyard. And now I'm noticing it and getting really mad at myself. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just I lost a food on the battlefield if I decide to cast it this turn, which I probably want to because the Swarm can be cast next turn. So if I don't cast it now, I'm not using a removal spell until 2 turns from now, which is also not great. And now I just have to bite the bullet, and unfortunately, get rid of a few cards in the graveyard. Now I do get to keep the food because I had forgotten I had 4 cards in the yard. So it doesn't really hurt the fact that Swarm can still come down this upcoming turn here. But I did get rid of 3 cards in the yard. So go ahead and play Swarm. Hope it survives. It's really all we got going on right now. Okay, they've got a Glide Dive Duo. And we have 8 mana, which means we can cast both of these things, except for the fact that we only have 2 greens. So that means we can only cast 1. So more than likely, just casting the Head of the Homestead here. I don't have blocks against the Glide Dive Duo. I mean, I have a Reach Creature, but it would just be a chump. So, I mean, if they remove this Swarm, We are pretty toast here at this point. Okay, they start pushing the damage even more. Put a counter on it, we go to 6. Now we're dead in 3 turns, technically. 2 if they can find some land drops. Sticky Tongue Sentinel playing Vine Lasher, being able to kick it next turn and play a land drop and hit us for 4. But now the Saver does technically keep us alive for at least a moment. Although we do have a food, so we're not technically officially dead on board next turn. So, I mean, this Swarm is going to put some pressure on them here. We do have attacks with the Swarm and the Head of the Homestead. So we can make those attacks. Now, they're technically at like 22 life because they've got 2 foods as well, so we have to put like a lot of pressure on them, but, you know. Now I'm questioning, do I want to keep my Head of the Homestead alive and use Saver on the Sentinel? I don't think I can afford to do that. But I'm really questioning it here because if I'd save it and use it on the duo, it would just to be to keep myself alive, which doesn't feel great. The Head of the Homestead at least staying alive, like, gives us attacks in future turns. We can play the Druid of the Spade here and still crack a food and still have it be a 4-3 trample. They are at 13 now. We've got attacks with, like, most of our stuff. I'm wondering if I should have attacked with all of my creatures there. That might have been interesting. Try to get them dead as quick as I can, knowing that I'm pretty much going to die, like, in a turn or 2. Okay, go to 3. Thornvault Forager does not do much. So currently we are at 6 life, which means we are dead to a land off the top of their deck here. Even if we crack our food. They're just trying to preserve their life total. Take 10, go to 6, which means they are also pretty close to dead on board next turn if they don't draw the land. So let's see if they quickly drop the land. And they have not dropped the land, which makes me think they did not draw one. But let's see. So we have to eat the food, go up to 6. Prepping the good game. Prepping the nice when they drop the land. And instead of top decking the land, they missed on the land drop this turn. Except for the fact that their top deck happened to be a Peerless Recycling to get back a Sticky Tongue Sentinel, to return a land to their hand, to play it, and ping us for 2. So a Peerless Recycling off the top was what did us in. When they were dead on board next turn. Yeah, it's that kind of day. It's that kind of day. Okay, so we're now 3-2. Trying to fight back here. Keeping the hand with both colors of mana. Here's a turn 1 play. Lots of black-green decks, as you've noticed. We played it on Wednesday, we played it today, we played against it like 3 or 4 times already. Yeah. And again, this Swarm is just like sitting in our hand costing 8 mana. It's like, what are we doing? And that is a kicked Dark Star Augur on turn 3. So my question is, do I kill one of them? And I think I have to kill at least one. I mean, I could hope to just like have them die to their own Augur triggers, but that's not really a great plan, unfortunately. So I'm going to go ahead and kill the bigger one. And then attack with the 2/3. And then drown in card advantage from their Darkstar Augur. So at this point, I'm not... I can't cast any card in my hand. A land lets me cast Head of the Homestead, but like that doesn't do a ton necessarily, especially now that they've got a 4/4. I mean, I'm taking more damage. I go ahead and cast it because I've got nothing else to do. I'm thinking about using the Share Pot to kill the Rampager, but I'll just go ahead and get my creature down. And then hopefully I forage here because the Rampager can't be blocked except by creature's power 3 or greater. And then they draw Tree Guard Duo, which is gonna like hit us for like 7 damage right now. I'm glad they gave it here because this at least allows me to like chump block instead of, if they gave it to the 1/1 flyer, okay, there's the Longstock Brawl. Now I kind of can't chump block, so I take 11. And there's a green shell, so that's the best card in our deck, but is it too little too late? Okay, don't take any damage. And you're about to see Longstock Brawl.deck go absolutely wild against us at this moment. Okay, Sticky Tongue Sentinel. Returning Duo. Maybe the Longstock Brawl deck is next turn, but it is coming shortly, I'll say that. Okay, Cash Grab means maybe I can cast a Swarm if I get lucky off what I hit. I'm, again, also debating using the Share Pot here to kill something. I know that Tree Guard Duo's coming next turn, and my thought right now is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's going to give +8/+8 to the flyer, which means I have to chump with Fecund Greenshell, which means I also chump the Rampager, and then I might be pretty darn close to dead on board here, if that's the route I take. If I do Cash Grab, I have to chump multiple different things, but I feel like this is my best chance to maybe be able to survive. And I grab the Sentries because the Sentries actually lets me block the 1/1 flyer with something that's not my green shell. So now my plan is to... Alright, so we saw Longstock Brawl come out of their hand, so something's dying. As well as a Tree Guard Duo. So they give it there for some reason. Well, you'll see the reason in about 10 seconds. There's the Longstock Brawl. And now we have to chump with Head of the Homestead. If they didn't also have a third one. And the third one is the one I can't overcome. 3 removal spells in a deck. We haven't even had, 3 removal spells in our entire pool in the last 3 days. But 3-0 to 3-3. Feels pretty bad, but here we are. It did not quite get there in this run of the Arena Open. We've got one more try. I did one more try on day 1 to attempt to get into day 2. You're going to see that one come to the channel on Monday. That will be the final day 1 attempt. If we do happen to make day 2, you'll see that on Wednesday and or Friday, depending on how many drafts we get to do of that. If not, back to drafting content on Wednesday. So thanks for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time for your daily draft.